Let's sit back into our chairs and let yourselves get comfortable for a moment. And we'll begin class with doing a little bit of centering and grounding. And I think it's so important during this time that we do spend a little extra time maybe to practice feeling grounded. So in these turbulent times, that we know that we can turn inward and we can find our centeredness and peace within. So let's begin. And make sure that you're comfortable right now and your back is supported with the chair and no efforting whatsoever. Let's close our eyes for a moment and begin to draw the awareness inward. Feeling a lengthening up through the spine with the shoulders back and down to open the chest, tucking the chin in just a little bit to lengthen the back of the neck. Notice the facial muscles and release any tightness that you may be holding on to. Sometimes it's habitual and we don't even notice that we're holding on to patterns of tension within the body. So notice those little muscles around the eyes. See if they're tight there, and if so, release any tension in the muscles in the face. And with the lips lightly together, separate the jaw slightly. Notice what the tongue is doing. The tongue can actually be another one of those areas of tension if it's held tight in the mouth. Sometimes I notice with myself that sometimes my tongue is kind of held up to the roof of my mouth as a pattern. So if that's the same for you, then check that out and release the tongue from any tightness there. And the throat and the neck is relaxed. The breathing is easy. Arms can be relaxed wherever they want to go. And with the awareness to the abdomen, begin to release the abdomen so it's completely relaxed. And then with your inhalation, let it fill with your breath. So the inhale fills the abdomen as that air draws up, all the way up to the collarbones, expanding on the way up, and exhaling, contracting from the top down. Abdomen gently draws in, last to expel the remaining air, and then it's a passive filling up from the bottom to the middle, all the way up to the top, exhaling from the top down. Just very nice, relaxed, deep breaths. Continuing on your own. With the inhalation, when you're drawing the air up to the middle of the chest, feel the side ribs expanding and see if you can even feel the back ribs expanding. You might feel that to the back of the chair. And then notice if you can feel the collarbones lifting just slightly with the end of that inhalation. A few more rounds at your own pace, enjoying this nice, deep, relaxed breath. After your next exhalation, resume regular breathing. Keeping the eyes closed if you'd like. Begin to lower the chin down to the chest, tucking the chin slightly down and in, so you can feel a good stretch to the back of the neck. Maybe you can let the head act as a weight, and as you're relaxing into this stretch, maybe the head can sink down a little lower, the chin tucks in a little bit more, the shoulders are relaxed, and the breathing is easy. And begin to roll the right ear over towards the right shoulder. And gently pressing down on the left shoulder. And taking in one nice deep breath here. Just enjoying that stretch. And then rolling the chin back down to the center of the chest. And slowly begin to roll the left ear over towards the left shoulder. And gently pressing down on the right. One full deep breath there. And then a few more times to each side. It's a very slow, languid movement. This is a time when we can allow ourselves to truly slow down, keeping all the awareness inward. This is the time just for you this hour. After the chin rolls back down to the center of the chest, then begin to slowly lift the head back upright, taking your time. And then opening the eyes slowly. And then begin to turn the head to the right. So you get a good stretch to the neck, looking over that right shoulder. And then slowly returning back to center. Keep the chin parallel to the ground as the head turns in the opposite direction. Finding that point of gentle resistance without pushing any farther than that. And then back to center, and one more time to each side. Noticing if there's any tightness or stiffness in the neck. And maybe just exhaling that out. And then when the head comes back to center, let's begin to bring ourselves towards the center of the chair. And so as you are finding the center of your chair, we're going to spend a few moments here centering ourselves. So let's first bring the awareness to our feet and check that the feet are about hip-width apart. The insides of the feet are parallel to each other if possible. Sometimes the feet start to turn out as we get older, and when our balance starts to diminish, the feet tend to turn outward. So we want to bring our feet in so that they are parallel. And also check that the ankles are directly underneath the knees. So you can just take a look down there. We want to think of our knees being in line with our hips. And then we have a lengthening up through the spine all the way to the crown of the head. And we can align the hips with the shoulders. So our shoulders are back and down, not exaggerated, but just to open the chest. Let's have the arms hanging alongside the body. And the lower abdominal muscles are pulled in gently to support the back, and that engages our core. And then the chin is tucked in just a little bit to lengthen the back of the neck, and we have a soft gaze looking forward. So this is our neutral pose, our seated mountain pose. And we're going to, let's clasp lightly the bottom of the chair. Maybe you have some rungs on the side of the chair that you can just lightly clasp. And before we do anything, bring the awareness to the soles of the feet. And notice that connection to the ground with your feet. If you have shoes on, then you can just use some visualization here to sense the surface of the feet connecting to the ground. And then we're bringing the awareness now to the sitting bones. And feel your sitting bones connected to the chair. So those 2 points of connectedness here are where we can feel grounded right now. Physically grounded. And then bringing the awareness to the breath. We turn that groundedness into an inner sense of being centered. All right, now let's begin to hinge forward. So we're going to begin to hinge the torso forward until you feel the bones lifting just slightly. And then we're going to come back upright, and then we're going to lean back. So now you can feel those sitting bones shifting the weight. Abdominals are pulled in here, and then we're going to come back upright. We keep our chin tucked in slightly. And then we're going to shift over to the right. And so we have our hands clasped to the chair only if we need to. So we're shifting the whole torso over to the side until we lift up a little bit on that one sitting bone. And then we're going to come back to center and then to the other side until you feel that lifting up of the other side of your sitting bone. And then returning back to center. So this can come in handy when we start to do some other poses where we want to feel grounded to the sitting bones and our feet. Let's walk our feet a little bit wider so we have a really good base of support here. So whatever that means for you, maybe it's really wide with the toes slightly angled outward. So just find where you feel really, really centered in your chair right now. All right, so again, just notice this sense here so that if you need to readjust, you can always do that. It's really important that we have a good base of support for a lot of the moves that we're going to be doing. So let's bring our legs back so that they're a comfortable distance away from each other. And bringing the awareness to our shoulders, let's let our arms hang freely again. We're just going to roll the shoulders around. So rotating, loosening up the shoulders, exaggerated movements here, but slowly so that if there's any stiffness or tightness anywhere that you can maybe slow down a little bit in that particular area. Next time that the shoulders are pressing down, then reverse directions. And breathing. Notice the freedom of movement, or maybe you don't have freedom of movement in both shoulders. So just noticing that without bringing any kind of judgment to it. Then with the shoulders pressing down now, let's see if we can have the shoulders moving independently of each other. So they're just, one is moving forward as the other one moves back, maybe putting a little bit more movement into the whole torso, and then reversing that direction. So we're kind of just isolating here each shoulder. Make sure that you're breathing. Breathing is flowing freely. Our gaze is soft. All right, now let's let the arms relax. And let's begin to reach the arms out to the side. Palms are going to turn up, and we're going to inhale. So taking a deep breath in as the arms reach up, and we're going to exhale those arms down. The palms turn down when the arms are halfway down. And again, inhaling as the arms are halfway up, we turn the palms up, a deep breath, and exhaling the arms down. And 2 more times, so we're bringing in a lot of fresh oxygen, energizing the body and the mind. 1 more full deep breath all the way up, and exhaling all the way down. We keep the abdominals pulled in to keep our core activated here. Let's slide ourselves back so that we're resting to the back of the chair now. And we're going to let the arms hang down freely, and we're going to lift one leg out in front and then the other leg out in front. And we're going to splay the fingers and the toes wide open. Take a look at your toes. See how wide they can fan out. So the big toe and the baby toe of each foot are moving away from each other. And then make fists with your hands and with your toes. So they're curling in. and then alternating. So they're fanning wide open and curling in. Good. A couple more times. Check that you're breathing. I know I will repeat that because sometimes when we're concentrating or focusing on one aspect, then sometimes the breathing can get shallow or even stop. I've noticed that with myself. All right, now let's lower down the legs and arms are relaxed. And this time we're going to bring out one leg and then the other leg. Our arms are just doing nothing. And then we're going to rotate the ankles in circles, however you want to do it. Just rotating around. Notice your range of motion here. And as you continue to rotate the ankles, and you can move in opposite directions, then bring out your arms in front, and then rotating wrists and ankles. Make sure that you go in opposite directions to your wrists. All right, now let's lower down arms and legs. And we're going to come forward into our chair. We'll do a couple of cat-cow so we can loosen up the spine. So you want to sit in our neutral position here, and hands are on top of the legs. And we begin with the inhalation. So we're going to slide the hands in towards the body as we hinge forward and really open up here. Our gaze is slightly up, and as we exhale, we slide the hands towards the knees, and our back is really rounded here. If your back is touching the chair, make sure that you slide forward a little bit more so you have plenty of space. So we're going to keep going a few more times. Waking up the spine, loosening it up. Always adjust yourself on your chair so that it's comfortable for you. Maybe the edge of the chair is cutting into your thighs a little bit. Your hamstrings might feel that. So adjust yourself in your chair. I'm going to be doing that since this is a new one for me. I've been realizing that even the angle of the seat is a little bit different on this one. So anyway, let's keep going just a few more times. All right, so you're really moving the spine forwards, opening up the chest. When we do the cow, so our chest is forward, our shoulder blades are sliding in towards each other. Exhaling, the chin tucks down and under as the spine rounds. Exaggerated movements. Deep breaths. I thought we'd work today a little bit on our abs, which we did last week, so we'll continue with that. So as you inhale for this next time, then let's come up to our neutral position. All right, good. So preparing to work on our abs, we want to strengthen our core. All right, and when we have a good strong core, that helps us to keep a nice strong back. So let's begin by coming forward onto the chair. So you're towards the edge of the chair, but we're going to lean back. And as you lean back, have the chin tucked in just a little bit. If this is uncomfortable for you, then make it comfortable by adjusting yourself. So I'm going to turn my chair sideways just to demonstrate a little bit. So you can see how my back, it's like there's a steel rod in my back, and it keeps my back straight. And one thing that we want to think of doing is to bring the lower ribs and the top of our hips together a little bit. That takes out a little bit of the curve in the low back to protect. We're pulling our abs in, and let me move my block away. See how much dexterity I have there on my feet. Okay, so let's begin by clasping lightly onto the bottom of the chair. Chin's tucked in, abs are pulled in, and we're going to keep breathing. And we're going to just start to lift up one leg at a time. You can come to your tippy toes. So you're just tapping the toes. And keep breathing. Shoulders are relaxed. Have a soft gaze on the face. There's no tension anywhere where we don't need to hold it. And we're just going to keep doing this a few more times. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, both toes, tippy toes are down on the ground. See if you can lift up both feet. If not, just keep doing one toe at a time if that's not doable for you. Otherwise, both feet are picking up. So you might notice that we're working on our hip flexors here as well. But we really want to focus on abs. We want to think of the abs as doing this work for us. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's lower down the feet. And we're going to come to the center of our chair again and widen the legs. And we're going to go into a little bit of a forward fold here. So it's a supported forward fold. Our hands are on our thighs. We're going to hinge forward. We're going to lean over the legs. You might want to even walk the legs a little bit wider so you can really sink into this forward fold. That can help release any pressure from the low back. And we also want to relax the abs right now. So looking down at the ground, our torso is about parallel to the ground. Maybe a little bit deeper than that if it feels good for you. One more full deep breath here. And then we're going to inhale and come all the way up with a flat back. I'll turn my chair back now. You can keep your chairs as they are. We're going to widen the legs just a little bit. We're going to bring our arms into cactus pose. And we're going to twist very gently from one side to the other, keeping the head and neck in line with the torso. All right, so our whole upper body is moving as one unit. See to what extent that you can do this twist. See what kind of movement that you have in the torso. So when we create more strength in our obliques and our abdominal muscles, that's what gives us control to move the torso from side to side. So we'll do a little bit of some work with our obliques. So let's come back to center now. We'll keep the arms in our cactus pose here. And we're going to inhale as we lengthen through the spine. As we exhale, we're going to come forward with a flat back. Abdominals are pulled in. So we come down maybe about halfway to the ground. Inhale and pull up with the abdominal muscles. Exhale, we're hinging forward. Inhaling, back upright. Think of the abs as moving you here. Back up. One more time. And coming upright. We're going to lower the arms down. Let's shake out the arms a little bit. So our obliques, that side of our torso, is where we will focus on strengthening that today along with our abs, okay? So let's walk our legs in about, actually let's walk them in all the way. So that'll kind of stabilize our body. And then find your comfortable position here on your chair so that you feel grounded. We're going to cross the right arm over the body so that the palm is resting on the outside of the left thigh. Reach your left arm up, palm turns up as it reaches up overhead, and then see if you can kind of spin your chest open, looking through that armpit, and if it's okay with your neck, looking up to the outstretched fingers. So you can feel that stretching from the top of that left hip all the way up, the side of the body up to the fingertips. Big deep breath here, maybe reaching up and over a little deeper. And we'll exhale that arm down as it crosses on to the other leg, to the outside of that leg. And inhaling, reaching that right arm up, palm turns up, overhead. Taking in a full deep breath here as you're reaching up and over, feeling that great stretch. See if you can spin that chest open a little bit now, looking through the armpit or up to that outstretched hand. And we'll, with your next exhalation, we'll lower that arm down. We're going to keep going just a few more times at your own breath pace. Inhaling the arm up, find your comfortable neck position here so that you're not straining your neck, but you can actually build up your neck muscles by looking up to that outstretched arm only if it doesn't cause any strain at all. And just one more time to each side. Take your time here so you can really feel the side of the body, those obliques stretching and reaching up with that arm, Crossing it onto the other side. Breathing deeply. Feels good, doesn't it? Maybe not, but the more you do this, the more it will. Let's lower the arms down. So those intercostal, we have intercostal muscles that are between the ribs. And if we don't stretch those, then we get stiff in the rib cage. So that also helps with those intercostals. So if that didn't feel good, keep doing it a little bit more throughout the day or throughout the week and see if maybe that starts to kind of open up a little bit more for you. All right, we're going to return back to our abs now. So we had a little distraction there. So this time, I'm going to just turn my chair so you can see if you need for a visual here. So we're going to start to lean back onto our chair again. So it's the shoulder blades that are resting to the chair. We want to keep our chin tucked in a little bit. Abs are pulled in. We want to take away a little bit of that curve in the low back, so a little bit of that pelvis tilt. Think of the tailbone kind of tucking under just a tiny little bit, okay? So now, again, clasping the bottom of your chair, the side of your chair, wherever you can. We'll come back to our tippy toes, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to just start lifting up one leg at a time. Tippy toes are tapping. So to bring a little bit more of a challenge here, we're going to bring the back away from the chair. So we're not resting up against the chair if possible. If that doesn't work for you, then keep your back, the upper back, resting on top of the chair. Now maybe bring out one arm and then maybe bring out the other arm. Keep your chin tucked down slightly. Lifting the legs high, abdominals are pulled in. All right, now 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work, everyone. Let's lower down. Let's rest up against the chair. And so our feet are flat now on the chair. And we're going to sit up. We're going to bring our arms out. And we're going to start to lean back until the back touches the chair. And then we're going to come forward again using just abdominal muscles. So again, we're going to keep the chin tucked down just a little bit. And so now if you want to bring in a little extra effort here, and for those of you who this might be a challenge for whatever reasons, maybe some weak abdominal muscles, or maybe you have a low back challenge. If this is too much, then just do what we were doing before. Otherwise, when we lean back, we're going to lift, we're going to stretch out one leg and lowering it down when we come up. Make sure that you're breathing. The exhalation is when you're coming up. So inhaling down, one leg reaches out, inhaling up, exhaling, the other leg lifts out. And we're going to just keep going for a little bit longer. Maybe if you're fairly comfortable with this, arms up overhead. So same thing, when we lean back, try not to touch the chair, but you're almost there. Maybe you can tap it just a little bit with the back. And then we're going to just keep going for a little bit longer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now this time what we're going to do, we're going to bring our arms out in front. We're going to lift up one leg, stretch it out. We're going to hold that for a moment. One deep breath. We're going to lower that leg down, then lift the other leg out. So one leg out, one full deep breath. The back is not touching the chair if possible. And then we're going to lower down. Legs, we're resting up against the back of the chair here. We're going to clasp the bottom of the chair or maybe one of the side rungs and lift up both legs, move away from the chair. So we're doing a little bit of some crunches here. Keep the chin tucked down and breathing. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good work, everybody. Woo! All right, we did 3 sets. And so we're good for the rest of the week. No, I'm just kidding. Good just for today. Let's take a moment here. I can feel that in my hip flexors because it is good work for not only for the abs, but for the hip flexors. So you kind of get a twofer there. So let's kind of release tightness from those hip flexors by coming forward into your chair. We're going to have the legs nice and wide, and then we're going to roll up to the balls of the feet so that our heels are lifted, and we're going to just start to swivel around from side to side. And if you want to put in some arm movement here to get some further stretching to the side of the body, you can do that. Releasing any tightness in the hip flexors. Just a couple more times. Then let's come back into our neutral position here. And I know that doing the ab work sometimes can be tiring for the low back. So let's come into a forward fold here, supported forward fold, and release any tightness in the low back. So adjust your legs either nice and wide, if you want to have your abdomen kind of sinking between the legs, or if you want more of a support for the torso, legs are together. Maybe experiment and see what works for you. So as you inhale, lengthen through the spine. As you exhale with a flat back, we start with the flat back coming forward. So we're hinging from the hips, lengthening through the spine, and then coming forward as far forward and torso coming towards the ground as feels good for you until you can start to feel a good stretch to the low back. And then whatever feels good for you, maybe allowing yourself to sink deeply, maybe bringing one hand to the ground, the other hand down, and finding your comfortable forward fold. One more full deep breath. Preparing to come out either with a flat back, hands supporting the torso on the legs, or keep the arms and head hanging down and roll the spine up, using the arms and head as weights, abdominals pulled in as you come up. Good. We'll walk the legs in towards each other. Let's prepare for a spinal twist. If you have osteoporosis or a low back condition, then a deep spinal twist is not recommended. If that's the case, then use more of the middle of the back and the neck. And of course, be careful with your neck too. So let's have ourselves, so we're in the middle of our chair again, our feet are grounded. As you inhale, reach the arms up overhead. And as you exhale, twist to your right. Let both arms hang alongside the body as you look over that shoulder. As you inhale, lengthen through the spine. As you exhale, twist maybe just a little bit deeper. And if you've already started coming up that spine, with your next inhale, reach the arms up. As you exhale, arms down, and spending a few deep breaths here. So as you inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, twisting over that left shoulder. And then with your next inhale, we'll reach the arms up. And this time a fluid movement. So we're moving with the breath, exhaling over to the side and inhaling up. We're going to transition now to standings to do some balancing. So let's come forward into our chair. We're not going to stand up quite yet because we've been working at getting up using our chair pose to stand. There was just an article, I'll try and give you the link to that maybe in Sunday's email, in the Washington Post about how important it is to do squatting every day because it's so strengthening for the low body and also really good for our core. So in a way, chair pose when we do this is like squatting. So to prepare for that, come towards the front edge of your chair. We want to feel really grounded in our feet. So there's different ways that we can do this to start out. Let's slide our feet in a little bit so that they're maybe like they feel like they're almost underneath your chair. The feet are flat. For some people that may have, if this is difficult for you to come up, then bring one foot forward a couple of inches. Usually the dominant side works best. So let's start by having our hands on the chair so that we're supporting ourselves. So we're going to start to hinge forward. And when we do that, we're hinging forward, but we're not leaning down. Okay, we want to have our chest and back upright at an angle. So my feet are slid in, and you do whatever you think will work for you. You can experiment. And then we're going to hinge forward. My gaze is 4 or 5 feet in front of me so that I'm not looking down. If we're looking down, oftentimes that's where we end up. So we don't want to look down. So we have our weight now sinking back towards our heels. So bring your hands to your hips if you're able to do that. Take a look down at your feet. Make sure that you can see your toes. If your knees are too far forward, you're not going to see your toes, and we don't want to do that. We want to be able to see our toes. That means our weight is behind us. Abs are pulled in. Chin is slightly tucked in, but our gaze is forward. See if you can lift up all 10 toes. So strong legs here, strong glutes, abs pulled in. Let your toes relax down on the ground now, and let's start to lower back down very slowly with control until you come back to a seated position. If you find that this is really hard on your knees, if it's too much pressure on your knees, then come up to standing and maybe do a little bit more of these squats to strengthen the thighs and those surrounding muscles, but not holding it like this. So let's bring our hands to our hips. If you know that you need to hold on to your chair, then do that. And for those of you who feel pretty comfortable that have done this before, then you can bring your arms out or up. As you begin to come up from the chair, we're going to hold just a moment, breathing. Our gaze is forward, so we don't want to be looking out to the side, and breathing. We're going to hold this just for one more full deep breath until we come all the way up to a standing position. All right, coming up all the way. Good work, everybody. And lowering the arms down. All right. Now, let's take a wide stance. And we're going to roll the hips around. You can move the arms around. We're just kind of letting go of any tightness anywhere. That chair pose can be intense, so we're loosening up any tightness. And I think maybe we're all at a point where we can all come to the right side of the chair. So I don't know how your setups are, but see if you can all come to the right side of the chair so that we're doing this all together. If your chair is immovable, that's okay, just whatever side that you can. If you know that you need a lot of practice with balancing, if you feel that your balance is not very good right now, then standing behind the chair can be good as well. So let's stand in our mountain pose. Before we start, we want to make sure that our chair is right next to us, and we've taken a couple of steps behind so that it's easy to place the hand on top of the chair. We're not having to reach forward for it. All right, take a look down at the feet. And as I mentioned, sometimes if the balance starts to get diminished, the toes will turn outward, so the feet start to turn outward for a wider base of support. That's a compensatory type of physical motion. So see if you can bring the feet so that the insides of the feet are parallel. We have soft knees, so there's no locking here. The pelvis is tucked just a little bit so that tailbone is kind of curved forward just a little tiny bit. And we want to feel a lengthening up all through the spine to the crown of the head. Our shoulders are back and down, so our chest is open, arms hanging alongside the body freely. And noticing now this feeling of groundedness. Notice the connection of your feet to the earth. Feeling a moment here, taking a moment, and feeling gratitude for the body, the miraculous body. It regenerates, it rejuvenates, and with a little bit of effort, we can get stronger and improve our balance. One way that we can keep our balance is by keeping our legs strong. So we did that with our standing pose, and as I mentioned, some squats are really good to do. You don't even have to go for, we're not going to do that right now, but if you are in your kitchen and you have your counter, you know, just doing a few squats like that, getting into that mindset of utilizing your time to strengthen the body and balancing can be great. So let's bring one hand to the top of the chair, and we're going to start to slowly come up towards the balls of the feet so our heels are lifted. And we're going to hold for a moment, and then we're going to slowly lower the heels back down. And we're going to keep doing that a little bit. So very slowly. As you're doing this, try to not kind of cantilever the body forward. So we're coming straight up if possible, and we're keeping our ankles strong and stable so they're not collapsing in or out. When you take a couple of seconds at the top, then that helps to build on your strength and your balance. Maybe you're able to let the hand go from the chair. So both arms are just hanging alongside the body freely, and we're just raising up and slowly lowering down. Notice the facial muscles. All the facial muscles are relaxed. We're not bringing in any tension or tightness anywhere that we don't need to. If you need to keep a hand on the chair, do that. Maybe even just one finger. One finger sometimes can make a big difference. We're going to keep going just a little bit longer. And even you can coordinate the breath when you're practicing this so that you're inhaling slowly on the way up and then exhaling on the way down. So you might start to feel this already in the calf muscles. It's really good for strengthening and toning the legs. And we're going to go just 2 more times very slowly. Remember to hold at the top. You don't have to lift your ankles real high, but if you can, then do that. Sometimes just lifting up a little bit is a good place to start. All right, then let's lower on down. All right, now let's bring one hand to the chair, and we're going to shift our weight onto that left leg or whichever leg is closest to the chair, and lift that other leg up maybe just a few inches. So it's the leg is lifting up behind you, and then we're going to do the same thing with one leg. So we're lifting up. We're only going to do this a few times because the legs might already be fatigued. So don't worry, we're not going to be doing a lot of these, but just a few more if you can, slowly. This one is a little bit more challenging. Maybe lifting your hand up off the chair for a second or two as you're coming up or lowering. All right, now let's shift onto the other leg. When you're ready, we're going to shift. Keep your hand, we're going to lift that leg back behind us as much or as little as you can, and still keep your balance as you're raising up, lowering down. Keep a soft gaze in front of you. So I like doing these twofers. We're getting in our balancing while we're strengthening. And we're also focusing on being grounded and centered. We're not letting the fluctuations of the body disrupt the mind. The ancient yogis said that the physical practice of yoga, hatha yoga, is done to still the mind. All right, lowering back down. Good work, everybody. Let's lower both legs down, and let's move around just like we did when we stood up. So we're going to just shift around a little bit. Woo! I can feel that in my legs. All right, let's come back to our chair, but before we sit down, we got to work for it. So come to your chair, standing in front of your chair. Make sure that you're centered in your chair. I have a smaller base of support here with my chair, so I hope I don't miss my chair. So we want to walk backwards until you feel your calf touching the edge of your chair. That way you know exactly where it is. If you know that you need to use your arms to support you, then keep your arms straight down so you can take a hold of your chair as you lower. Otherwise, either hands to the hips or arms reaching out or up. And we're going to start by moving the hips back and lowering down slowly. We're going to hold just for a moment, keep the gaze forward 4 or 5 feet. So this is what chair pose looks like, the full pose. So that's what we're replicating here. And the weight is going towards the heels, just as we did when we were coming up. And we're moving hips back and breathing. And then we're going to slowly, with control, lower all the way down. And I have a creaky chair and lowering the arms all the way down. Let's sit back into our chair for a moment. Good work, everyone. Let's just check in with ourselves and notice. Maybe the breath got away a little bit. That one can be strenuous. So returning the breath back to a nice, natural, deep breath. Again, noticing that groundedness with the feet connecting to the earth, sitting bones connected to the chair. Our back is relaxing against the chair, so we're supported here. And we'll start to work a little bit with our hips before we end class. So let's come forward in our chair again. So we're sitting centered in the chair. And let's start by bringing the awareness to our right leg, working with range of motion. We're going to lift that leg up and either holding the leg if you need to or not. Maybe clasping the bottom of the chair will help give you a little bit of some leverage there. So we're just rolling that leg around and then we're going to reverse direction. So see if you can move that leg to the full range of motion. If you find this really difficult, then next time have a hand towel, and that way you could kind of loop it underneath your thigh and then use your arms and that little towel just to support. Now, let's clasp the shin. We're going to draw that leg up as close into the body as comfortable. And with the elbows out, we're going to inhale and lengthen through the spine and exhale, bring the forehead towards the knee, the back rounds, the elbows move forward, forehead to the knee, inhaling upright. And one more time, exhaling, the back rounds, chin tucks in and under, forearms are moving away from the body, and then back upright. Good. And then let's clasp the outer edge of that foot. And I know some of you will not be able to cross the leg on top. So if that is the case, don't let anything be painful. Maybe just crossing the legs, or if you have a block or a thick book, you can rest the blade of that foot, that edge of the foot, onto the block. It's a little bit of a different stretch, but it's a start. Cross legs will give you a little bit more of that stretch to the outer aspect of the hip. So I know most of you that have been with me already know to what extent you can do this, and where it can feel like a really nice deep stretch to the hip. So if you want to go deeper yet, then as you inhale, lengthen through the spine, and as you exhale, hinge forward. Spending a few moments here, keeping that foot active that's on top of the leg. So by that I mean having The ball of the foot pressing forward slightly, toes can be fanned. We don't want that leg to be resting on top of the kneecap. We always want to protect the kneecaps. They're hard to replace. 2 more full deep breaths. With your next inhale, begin to come back upright. Slowly with control. And then very carefully supporting that leg as you lower it down. All right. And then the other leg, we're going to lift that leg. And again, maybe this side is different. So support it as you need to. So rolling it around. Noticing your range of motion here. And then in the other direction a few times. I wonder if somebody's outside. I thought I could hear a bird chirp. We have to think about how we can bring this outside. All right, now, we've gone a few times in each direction. Let's clasp the shin. We're going to draw that leg up and close as the spine lengthens, inhaling up, exhaling, forehead towards the knee, rounding the back, inhaling up, and one more time. Forehead to the knee, the elbows move away from the body. Upright, and then we're going to carefully clasp that edge of the foot very carefully. Do whatever option here is going to work for you. Foot is active. When we have our foot active, it activates the leg muscles, and then it helps to support this knee. If you want to take it a little deeper, then use your breath as you inhale and lengthen. As you exhale, hinging. And one more full deep breath here. With your next inhalation, come up slowly, carefully, with control. We're going to uncross that leg. Okay. We're going to do just one more forward fold, and then we'll spend a few moments in closing to come into our stillness. So for our forward fold, as we inhale, we're going to lengthen. As we exhale, we're going to hinge forward, finding your comfortable forward fold here. Maybe for you that means widening the legs a little bit, accommodating the body in whatever way feels right for you. The forward folds are relaxing and known to initiate the parasympathetic response, the relaxation response. Preparing to come out of the forward fold, either with a flat back, abdominals pulled in to support you, or rolling up. And as you come all the way up, then let's prepare to close class with 3 cleansing breaths. So let's have the arms alongside the body, spine is lengthened upright. As you inhale, let the abdomen expand. That air draws all the way up to the collarbones. And then lift the shoulders, scrunch up the face, make fists with your hands, toes curl under, open up the mouth wide open and release the breath. And again, inhaling deeply, filling up from the bottom all the way to the top, clenching hands and feet. Open up the mouth, stick out the tongue. And one more. As you inhale, filling up. all the way to the top, and then scrunch the shoulders up to the ears, scrunching face, fists and feet, scrunching. Hold the breath just for a moment. Open up the mouth, stick out the tongue. And now let the arms relax wherever they want to go. Let's close the eyes. All the facial muscles are relaxed. I'll sound the bell for a few moments of stillness, and I'll sound it one more time coming out.
Really helps. Okay.
May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all beings be at ease. May all beings be well in body and mind. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free and at peace. And now begin to deepen the breath. And moving, wiggling fingers and toes, and wrists and ankles. And as you open the eyes, if you'd like, you can stretch out arms and legs. Give yourself a full body stretch, thanking the body for all of its good work today, and health and vitality, wellness. May you all have a very peaceful day today. Namaste.